My sister dumped her baby on my doorstep, then disappeared. My parents said, "She's your burden now." 10 years later, they sued me for custody, claiming I kept them apart. But when I handed the judge a sealed folder, his eyes widened. Then he asked, "Do they even know what you have?" I just nodded and got ready to speak. I am Natalie, 34 years old, and 10 years ago my sister Amanda left her 3-month-old baby on my doorstep and vanished. My parents refused to help, coldly saying, "She is your burden now." I raised my niece Lily as my own, creating a beautiful life together. Then Amanda returned with my parents, suing for custody, claiming I kept them apart. Today in court, I handed the judge a sealed folder. His eyes widened as he asked, "Do they even know what you have?" I just nodded. Get comfortable, because this story about how I fought for the daughter of my heart will show you what true family really means. Before Lily came into my life, I had everything figured out. I was working as a pediatric nurse at Memorial Hospital, had just been promoted to head nurse on my floor, and was in a 2-year relationship with Mark, an architect I met through mutual friends. We had started talking about moving in together, and life seemed to be following the perfect timeline I had imagined for myself. That all changed on a rainy Tuesday night in October. I had just gotten home from a 12-hour shift, kicked off my shoes, and settled on the couch with a glass of wine and takeout. The doorbell rang around 9:30. I almost ignored it, thinking it was probably a package delivery, or someone at the wrong address. When it rang again more insistently, I reluctantly got up. What I found changed my life forever. A car seat sat on my welcome mat, covered with a thin blanket to shield from the rain. When I pulled back the blanket, I found a tiny baby girl, maybe 3 months old, with rosy cheeks and a wisp of dark hair, just like my sister Amanda. Tucked into the side of the car seat was a folded note in handwriting I immediately recognized. "Her name is Lily. I cannot do this. Take care of her. I am sorry." That was it. 7 words that shifted my entire existence. I looked up and down the street, but there was no sign of Amanda. I called her cell phone immediately, but it went straight to voicemail. I brought Lily inside my hands, shaking, as I carefully picked up the car seat. She was sleeping peacefully, unaware that her mother had just abandoned her. My first call after trying Amanda was to my parents. Their response still makes my stomach churn whenever I remember it. "We told her not to have that baby," my mother said coldly. "She made her choice, and now she is running away from it." Typical Amanda. "But what should I do?" I asked, panic rising in my voice. "I cannot just keep a baby. I do not know anything about caring for an infant." "She is your burden now," my father said firmly. "We are done cleaning up after Amanda. We are too old for this. She left her with me, not you," I argued. "She is your granddaughter." "And we never asked to be grandparents," my mother replied. "Especially not to the child of whatever random man Amanda hooked up with." They hung up shortly after, refusing to come over or offer any help. I sat on my couch staring at the sleeping baby, completely overwhelmed. Lily woke up soon, after her face scrunching into a hungry cry that sent me into a panic. I had nothing for a baby in my apartment, no formula, no diapers, nothing. I called Mark, hoping he could bring some supplies. His reaction was almost as shocking as my parents'. "A baby? Your sister just dumped her kid on you. That is insane, Natalie. You need to call social services." "I cannot just call social services in the middle of the night," I said. "She is my niece. Can you please just go to the 24-hour store and get some formula and diapers?" "This is not our problem," he said firmly. "This is exactly the kind of drama your sister always creates. Do not get pulled into it." I hung up, realizing I was entirely on my own. I carefully placed Lily back in her car seat and drove to the nearest 24-hour supermarket. I wandered the baby aisles in my scrubs from work, frantically Googling what kind of formula to buy for a 3-month-old and what size diapers she might need. A kind elderly woman working the night shift helped me put together the essentials, her eyes full of concern as I explained I was suddenly caring for my niece. That first night was a blur of crying formula, temperature checks, and diaper changes. I called in to work the next morning to request emergency family leave, something I had never done in my 5 years at the hospital. My supervisor, knowing my reliable work history, granted me 2 weeks without question. I filed a police report that morning, but the officers were not particularly concerned given the note. There was no crime in a mother leaving her child with a family member, they explained. Amanda was not missing, she had chosen to leave. They took my information but warned me not to expect much. I also called a family lawyer who explained I would need to file for temporary guardianship. a process that would take time and money. Those first days were a fog of contradicting emotions. I was furious at Amanda for putting me in this position, for abandoning her child, for disappearing without a proper explanation. But every time I looked at Lily with her tiny fingers and trusting eyes, my anger melted into protective love. She was innocent in all this, completely dependent on someone to care for her. That first night with Lily, I made a makeshift crib from a drawer lined with soft blankets, and slept on the couch beside her, waking every few hours to her hungry cries. As I fed her in the quiet darkness, watching her tiny face relaxed in contentment, I whispered a promise I would keep for the next decade. I do not know what happened with your mom, but I am here now. I will figure this out. You are safe with me. Within 2 weeks, it became clear that Amanda was not coming back anytime soon. I had to make serious changes to accommodate Lily in my life. My 1-bedroom apartment was too small for both of us, so I found a 2-bedroom place closer to the hospital, stretching my budget to the breaking point. The moving costs, baby furniture, and reduced work hours hit my savings hard, but I was determined to create stability for Lily. Becoming an instant mother was nothing like I imagined parenthood would be. There was no time to prepare, read books, or set up a nursery. I learned through pure necessity, often calling the pediatric nurses I worked with for advice when Lily had a fever or would not stop crying. My nursing background helped with the medical aspects, but nothing prepared me for the emotional and logistical challenges of suddenly parenting alone. Work became a complicated balancing act. I reduced my hours to 30 per week and switched to mostly day shifts, arranging childcare with a woman named Gloria who ran a small daycare from her home. The career advancement I had been working toward was put on indefinite hold. My supervisor was understanding but made it clear that my track to management would be delayed by my new circumstances. The legal process of becoming Lily's temporary guardian was extensive and expensive. I spent hours filling out paperwork, meeting with court-appointed evaluators, and attending hearings. Without Amanda present to formally transfer custody, everything took twice as long as it should have. I was fingerprinted, my home was inspected, and my entire life was scrutinized to determine if I was fit to care for my own niece. While all this was happening, my relationship with Mark deteriorated rapidly. What started as reluctance to help turned into resentment about our changed relationship dynamic. I did not sign up to date a single mom, he said during one of our increasingly frequent arguments. We had plans, Natalie. Travel, buying a house together, building our careers. How does any of that happen now? Life happens, I told him. Plans change. What was I supposed to do? Put her in foster care. Maybe that would have been better for everyone, he muttered. That was the end of our relationship. I packed up the few things he kept at my apartment and told him not to contact me again. Losing him hurt, but nowhere near as much as his suggestion that I should have abandoned Lily to the system. His true character had revealed itself, and I was better off knowing sooner, rather than later. My parents made rare appearances during that first year, always brief and always critical. My mother would come over, look around my apartment with thinly veiled disapproval, and make comments about how tired I looked or how cluttered the space was. She would hold Lily awkwardly, as if she might break, never offering to change a diaper or give her a bottle. You are letting her cry too much, she would say. But, I suppose you do not know any better. My father rarely engaged with Lily, at all, keeping his distance physically and emotionally. He would stand in the doorway, arms crossed, watching, as if the whole scene was a disaster he was being forced to witness. Has anyone heard from Amanda? He would ask, his voice tight with anger. It was the only time he showed any emotion about the situation. If I had heard from Amanda, you would be the first to know. I would reply, knowing it was a lie. My parents had made their position clear the night Lily arrived. They had written off both their daughters and their granddaughter in one phone call. Thankfully, I found support elsewhere. My coworkers organized a baby shower a month after Lily arrived, gifting me essential items and hand-me-downs from their own children. My next-door neighbor, Mrs. Santiago, became a surrogate grandmother figure, offering to watch Lily when I needed to run errands, and teaching me her secret technique for soothing colicky babies. Around month 3 of caring for Lily, I hired a private investigator with money I could not really spare. He managed to track down information suggesting Amanda had traveled to California. There were records of her working at a restaurant in San Diego for a few weeks. But then the trail went cold again. It was both a relief and a heartbreak to know she was alive, but choosing to stay away. Despite the chaos of that first year, Lily thrived. She rolled over, sat up, crawled, and spoke her first word, Nana, which became her name for me. Each milestone was celebrated with photos and videos stored carefully for a future where she might want to know about her early life. I created a memory box where I kept these mementos along with the few items she had arrived with, including Amanda's note. Lily's first birthday was nothing like the elaborate parties my friends threw for their children. We could not afford a fancy celebration, but I invited the small circle of people who had supported us through that difficult year. Mrs. Santiago made a beautiful cake. My friend from work brought balloons, and Lily smashed frosting all over her face while everyone cheered. My parents declined to attend, claiming a prior commitment. As I tucked Lily into bed that night now, in a proper crib in her own room, decorated with second-hand furniture and wall decals I had found on sale, I realized something profound. Despite all the hardship, stress, and sacrifice, I could no longer imagine my life without her. In just 1 year, this child who had arrived as a responsibility had become the center of my world. I was not just caring for her out of obligation anymore. I loved her fiercely, completely, as if she had been mine from the beginning. "Happy birthday, sweet girl," I whispered, kissing her forehead. We made it through our first year together. Here is to many more. 5 years passed in the blink of an eye. Lily started kindergarten, a milestone that filled me with equal parts pride and nostalgia for her baby days. Our morning routine was well established. By then, a choreographed dance of breakfast preparation, outfit selection, and backpack checking. Lily was an early riser, often waking me by climbing into my bed with a stuffed bunny named Hoppy and a steady stream of questions about the day ahead. "Nana, is today library day? Can I wear my star shoes? Will you make pancakes with blueberry smiles?" I had transitioned to a position as a school nurse at an elementary school different from Lily's to maintain professional boundaries. The job came with family-friendly hours and holidays, off a crucial change that allowed me to be more present for her. My career ambitions had shifted dramatically from climbing the hospital hierarchy to finding stability and balance for our little family of 2. Our apartment had become a true home, walls covered with Lily's artwork and photographs documenting our journey together. Her personality had blossomed into something remarkable, a combination of curiosity, resilience, and creativity that amazed me daily. She loved building elaborate worlds with blocks, creating stories about the characters she invented, and asking questions that sometimes left me searching for appropriate answers. We had our special traditions that anchored our weeks. Friday nights were movie nights with homemade popcorn and pillow forts in the living room. Sunday mornings meant visits to the local park, where Lily had favorite climbing structures, and I had a bench where I could watch her play. While chatting with other regular parents, these simple rituals created the stability children crave, especially those who have experienced early disruption. As Lily grew older, her questions about her origins became more frequent and complex. I had always been truthful with her, in age-appropriate ways, explaining that her mother was my sister who had not been ready to be a mommy when Lily was born. "Where is she now?" Lily would ask, her eyes wide with innocent curiosity. "I do not know exactly," I would answer honestly, "but she made sure you came to me because she knew I would love you very much." "Will she ever come back?" "I do not know that either, sweetheart, but no matter what, you and I are a family." To help her understand different family structures, I created a storybook with pictures and simple text explaining how families come in all shapes and sizes. Some kids live with grandparents, some with 2 moms or 2 dads, some with just 1 parent, and some like Lily with an aunt who loves them more than anything in the world. My parents maintained their distance, visiting perhaps 3 or 4 times a year, always with the same tension and criticism. My mother would bring gifts that were often inappropriate for Lily's age, or interest, demonstrating how little she paid attention to who her granddaughter actually was. "She should be in ballet by now," my mother would comment, bringing yet another tutu for a child who preferred dinosaurs and building blocks. "All the girls in the neighborhood are taking lessons." My father remained emotionally unavailable, asking surface-level questions about Lily's schooling, but never engaging in play or meaningful conversation with her. His anger at Amanda seemed to have calcified into a general coldness toward all of us. Lily, sensitive and perceptive, would become quieter during their visits, her natural exuberance dimmed by their lack of warmth. My personal life remained largely on hold during these years. Dating as a single mother was complicated enough, but dating as someone in my unique situation seemed nearly impossible. The few men I met through friends or work who seemed promising would inevitably pull back when they understood the full picture of my commitment to Lily. I chose to focus on her needs, rather than pursue relationships that might bring more instability into our lives. Our support network continued to grow. I joined a single parents group that met monthly, finding solidarity and friendship with others navigating similar challenges. Lily formed close bonds with the children of my friends from work, creating a chosen family that celebrated holidays and milestones with us. Financial stability remained a constant struggle. I took on a second job doing telehealth nursing consultations 2 evenings a week, after Lily was asleep, to build a college fund for her future. It meant less sleep for me and careful budgeting, but the growing savings account gave me peace of mind that I could provide long-term security for her. After years of careful saving, we took our first real vacation when Lily was 6, a trip to Disney World that she still talked about years later. Watching her face light up as she met her favorite characters made every extra shift and budgetary sacrifice worthwhile. We returned with a photo album full of memories and a renewed appreciation for our daily life together. Lily's artistic talents began to emerge around this time. Her kindergarten teacher noted her unusual attention to detail in drawings, and I encouraged this interest with art supplies and museum visits whenever possible. She would spend hours creating elaborate pictures of our adventures, real and imagined, that captured the special bond between us. As I approached the 5-year anniversary of Lily's arrival in my life, I found myself reflecting on how completely my existence had transformed. My apartment was filled with children's books instead of novels. My refrigerator displayed spelling tests instead of social invitations, and my schedule revolved around school events and play dates. None of it resembled the life I had planned yet. I could not imagine wanting anything different. In a box under my bed, I kept letters I had written to Amanda over the years, but never sent, having no address to send them to. They documented Lily's milestones, her funny sayings, her growing personality, things a mother might want to know. Sometimes I wondered if Amanda ever thought about the daughter she had left behind, if she regretted her decision, or if she had found whatever she was looking for when she drove away that rainy night. "Look what I made for you, Nana," Lily called, interrupting my thoughts as she ran into the kitchen, holding a carefully drawn picture of 2 figures, one tall and one small, surrounded by a large red heart. "That is beautiful, sweetie," I said, pulling her into a hug. "Is that us?" "Yes. That is you and me inside a heart, because we are a heart family, not a blood family. Miss Peterson told us that some families are made from blood, and some are made from heart, and heart families are just as real." "Miss Peterson is very wise," I said, blinking back tears. "We are definitely a heart family. And that is the best kind," Lily declared, with the absolute certainty only a 5-year-old can possess. I hung the picture on the refrigerator alongside her other masterpieces, a visual reminder of what we had built together out of the most unexpected beginning. 4 more years passed in a comfortable rhythm of school years, summer breaks, holidays, and the everyday moments that form the foundation of a family life. Lily was 9, thriving in 4th grade with good friends, and a passion for both art and science that kept her curious mind engaged. She had grown into a thoughtful, resilient child with my sister's artistic talent, but a steadiness of character that was entirely her own. The phone call came on an ordinary Tuesday evening as I was helping Lily with her science project about the solar system. An unknown number flashed on my screen, which I almost ignored, assuming it was a telemarketer. Some instinct made me answer instead. "Hello, Natalie." The voice was hesitant, familiar, yet strange after so many years. "It is Amanda." My hand tightened on the phone as I stepped quickly into my bedroom, away from Lily's curious eyes. "Amanda, where are you? Are you okay?" "I am fine. I am actually in town. I was hoping we could meet." Her voice sounded steadier than I remembered, more mature to talk. We arranged to meet at a cafe the next day while Lily was at school. I spent the night alternating between anxiety, anger, and a strange sense of relief that she was alive and well. I told Lily I had a doctor's appointment, hating the small lie, but knowing I needed to understand Amanda's situation before involving her daughter. The woman who walked into the cafe was almost unrecognizable from the troubled sister I remembered. Amanda was 32 now, her hair styled in a sophisticated bob instead of the wild curls of her youth. She wore a tailored blazer and carried an expensive-looking handbag. She looked healthy, put together, worlds away from the overwhelmed young mother who had left her baby on my doorstep a decade ago. "You look good," she said, as she sat down across from me. "Really good." "You too," I replied, studying her face for traces of the sister I had once been close to. "You seem... well, I am," she said, twisting her hands nervously, despite her composed appearance. "I have been sober for 7 years now. I completed rehabilitation, got my degree in graphic design, and I am married to a wonderful man named Thomas." She proceeded to tell me a story of recovery and redemption. After leaving Lily with me, she had spiraled further into drug addiction, living on the streets of San Diego for a time, before hitting rock bottom and checking herself into rehabilitation. There she met Thomas, a counselor, and after completing her program and maintaining sobriety, they had eventually married. They had no children of their own. I was not fit to be a mother, then she admitted. I was using heavily during my pregnancy, though I tried to stop. I was terrified that Lily would have health problems because of me. When she seemed okay, I thought I could handle it, but the postpartum depression hit hard, and I went back to using. The night I brought her to you, I had been using for days. I knew I was going to hurt her if I kept her. Leaving her with you was the only good decision I made during that time. I showed her photos on my phone of the childhood she had missed. Lily's first steps, first day of preschool, kindergarten, graduation, birthday parties, Halloween costumes, Christmas mornings. Amanda wiped tears as she swiped through the evidence of a decade of absence. She is beautiful, she whispered. So beautiful, and clearly happy. You have done an amazing job, Natalie. My emotions were chaotic, a mixture of the old anger at her abandonment, and a new cautious hope that perhaps Lily could have a relationship with her birth mother after all. We talked for hours, carefully navigating a decade of separation and the complex reality of our situation. I would like to meet her, Amanda said finally, if you think that would be okay. After careful consideration and consultation with a child psychologist, I arranged the first meeting between Amanda and Lily. I prepared Lily by explaining that my sister, her birth mother, had been very sick when Lily was a baby, but was better now and wanted to meet her. I emphasized that nothing would change about our life together, but that Amanda might become a part of our extended family like an aunt. The meeting took place at a neutral location, a children's museum where Lily could feel comfortable and engaged if the interaction became overwhelming. Lily was uncharacteristically shy, clinging to my hand as Amanda approached with a nervous smile. Hello, Lily, Amanda said softly. I have been looking forward to meeting you for a long time. Hi, Lily replied, half hiding behind me. Nana says you are her sister. That is right. And I am also your birth mother, which means you grew in my tummy before you were born. Lily nodded solemnly. But Nana is my real mom because she takes care of me and loves me, and helps me with homework, and makes me soup when I am sick. Amanda's eyes filled with tears, but she smiled bravely. That is absolutely right. You are very lucky to have such a wonderful mom. Over the following months, Amanda became a cautious presence in our lives. We established a routine of supervised visits, gradually increasing the time as Lily became more comfortable. Amanda was respectful of boundaries, never pushing for more than I was comfortable with, always deferring to my parenting decisions. She brought thoughtful gifts that showed she was paying attention to Lily's interests and development. After about 6 months of this careful dance, Amanda dropped a bombshell. She and Thomas were moving permanently to our city. She had accepted a job at a local design firm, and they had purchased a house just 20 minutes from our apartment. We want to be closer to Lily, she explained over coffee. To be a regular part of her life. Warning bells rang in my head, but I pushed aside my concerns. This could be positive for Lily. I reasoned having her birth mother in her life in a healthy way. I invited Amanda and Thomas for dinner, wanting to get to know the man who would be around my niece. The dinner went well on the surface. Thomas was charming and engaging, asking Lily about school and complimenting my cooking. Yet something felt off about his two perfect responses, and the way he watched Amanda carefully as she spoke as if monitoring her. The other shoe dropped during dessert. We have been thinking, Amanda said, glancing at Thomas for encouragement, that now that we are settled and financially stable, I would like to be Lily's mother again. Legally, I mean. My fork clattered against my plate. What exactly are you saying? We think it would be best for Lily to live with us, Thomas interjected smoothly. Of course you would have liberal visitation. You have done an amazing job raising her, Natalie, and no one can take that away from you. But a child belongs with her mother when possible. I am her mother, I said, my voice low to avoid alerting Lily, who was showing Thomas her art supplies in the living room. I have been her mother for 10 years while you were nowhere to be found. Biologically, I am her mother, Amanda countered, and I am in a much better position now to provide for her. You are in a tiny apartment working 2 jobs. We have a house with a yard in a top school district. Thomas makes 6 figures. She could have her own room, a college fund, vacations, everything children should have. She already has everything she needs, I said, struggling to keep my voice steady, including stability and security with the only parent she has ever known. The conversation ended uneasily with promises to discuss it further. After they left, I sat in stunned silence. processing the threat to everything I had built with Lily. I had naively believed Amanda wanted to be a supportive presence in Lily's life, not to replace me entirely. The situation deteriorated further when my parents unexpectedly contacted me, something they rarely did. They requested Sunday dinner at their house, including Lily. When we arrived, Amanda and Thomas were already there, looking comfortable in my childhood home. "Your sister has told us everything," my father said, after an uncomfortable meal, where my mother fussed over Amanda as if she was the prodigal daughter returned in glory, about her recovery, her marriage, her desire to be a proper mother to Lily. "She has turned her life around," my mother added. "We are so proud of her." "You have been in contact with her?" "For how long?" I asked, pieces suddenly falling into place. My parents exchanged glances. "We reconnected about 3 years ago," my father admitted. "Amanda reached out when she completed her rehabilitation program." 3 years, I repeated numbly. "You have known where she was for 3 years and never told me." "She asked us not to," my mother said defensively. "She wanted to get herself together first. And now that she has," my father continued, "we think it makes sense for Lily to be with her real mother. Amanda and Thomas can provide a traditional family environment with 2 parents. You have done your part, Natalie. But it is time to do what is best for Lily. Blood is blood," my mother added. "She deserves to be with her actual mother." The betrayal cut deep. Not only had Amanda returned with the intention of taking Lily from me, but my parents had apparently been supporting this plan, maintaining contact with Amanda for years while continuing their cold, critical visits to us. "We are leaving," I said, standing abruptly and reaching for Lily's hand. "Lily, put on your coat, please." "But we have not had dessert," Lily protested, confused by the tension she clearly sensed. "We will get ice cream on the way home," I promised, helping her with her coat while avoiding eye contact with my family. As we drove home, Lily was uncharacteristically quiet, staring out the window at the passing streetlights. "Nana," she finally said in a small voice, "Grandma said I might go live with Aunt Amanda and Uncle Thomas. Is that true?" My heart broke at the anxiety in her voice. "No, sweetie, you live with me. That is your home." "But she said Aunt Amanda is my real mom, and I should be with her." I pulled the car over, unbuckled my seatbelt and turned to face her fully. "Listen to me, Lily. You and I are a family. We have been since the day you came to me. Nothing is going to change that, I promise you." Her bottom lip trembled. "Cross your heart." "Cross my heart," I said firmly, making the gesture that had sealed all our important promises since she was tiny. "No one is going to take you away from me." That night, after Lily finally fell asleep, I found her in the throes of a nightmare, calling out, "No, no, do not take me," in her sleep. As I held her, soothing her back to peaceful slumber, a cold determination settled in my chest. I would fight with everything I had to keep my promise to her. The certified letter arrived 3 weeks later, its formal language disguising the bomb it contained. Amanda was petitioning for restoration of her parental rights and custody of Lily. The family court date was set for 30 days later. Each legal term felt like a physical blow. Biological parent, termination of guardianship, best interests of the minor child, home study, psychological evaluation. The words swam before my eyes as I realized that the life we had built together could potentially be dismantled by a judge who knew nothing about our bond, our daily rhythms, our love. I emptied my savings account and took out a loan to pay the retainer for Julia Hernandez, an attorney specializing in family law, whom a colleague had recommended. Her office was warm but professional, with children's books and toys in the corner, suggesting she understood the human stakes of her work. "I will not sugarcoat this," Julia said after reviewing my case. "Biological parents have strong rights in our legal system, even ones who have been absent. However, the length of time you have been Lily's caregiver and the circumstances of the abandonment work in your favor. 10 years is practically Lily's entire life. And judges are reluctant to disrupt a child's stable environment without compelling reasons. We developed a strategy focusing on documenting the reality of our life together. I gathered school records showing my consistent attendance at parent-teacher conferences and involvement in Lily's education. I collected medical records demonstrating my attentive care through childhood illnesses and regular checkups. I requested letters from Lily's teachers, our neighbors and friends, who could attest to the loving home we had created. When the initial legal documents from Amanda's attorney arrived, I discovered something that sent me reeling. My parents had provided affidavits supporting Amanda's petition, making claims that stunned me with their dishonesty. According to my mother's statement, I had manipulated the temporary situation to alienate Lily from her biological mother and extended family. My father claimed I had refused numerous requests for family visitation, and deliberately kept Lily separate from family traditions and gatherings. Both portrayed Amanda as a young mother who had made a mistake and deserved a second chance with her daughter. "This is completely false," I told Julia, my hands shaking as I set down the papers. "They visited only when it suited them, showed minimal interest in Lily, and were critical of me at every turn. They knew where Amanda was for years and never told me. Now they are painting me as some kind of villain who stole her child." "Family custody battles often bring out the worst in people," Julia said gently. "The good news is that these statements can be refuted. We can document the actual frequency of their visits and communication. Do you have text messages, emails, or other records of your interactions with your parents over the years?" I did. I had saved emails and texts out of a habit born from dealing with their unpredictable behavior, documenting canceled visits and critical comments. I had never imagined they would be evidence in a custody battle. The stress began to affect Lily. She started having trouble sleeping, became clingy before school, and her normally excellent grades began to slip. Her teacher called to report that Lily had burst into tears during class when another child talked about moving to a new house. I arranged for her to see a child psychologist specializing in family transitions, trying to help her process her fears, while shielding her from the worst of the legal battle. Lily exhibits significant anxiety about potential separation from her primary caregiver, the psychologist reported. She associates her birth mother and that side of the family with insecurity and fear of abandonment. Forcing a custody change at this point could result in significant emotional trauma. I rehired the private investigator, who had helped me years before, asking him to look into Amanda and Thomas's claims about their stable, perfect life. His initial findings were concerning. While Amanda did appear to have maintained sobriety, Thomas had a history that had not been disclosed, including a domestic violence charge from a previous relationship that had been dismissed under unclear circumstances. The discovery process of the legal case was grueling. Amanda's attorney requested extensive documentation of my finances, work history, and even my dating life, attempting to paint me as too busy, too poor, or too distracted to properly care for Lily. Each demand felt like an invasion, forcing me to justify the life we had built together to strangers who knew nothing about our daily happiness. Explaining the court case to Lily was one of the hardest conversations of my life. I had promised her she would stay with me, and now I had to prepare her for the possibility, however remote, that a judge might decide otherwise. "The judge has to listen to everyone and make a decision about what is best for you," I explained, sitting with her on the edge of her bed. "Aunt Amanda wants you to live with her and Uncle Thomas, and I want you to continue living with me. The judge will decide." "But I want to stay with you," Lily said, her eyes filling with tears. "Why does a judge get to choose my mom?" "I already chose you." "I know, sweetheart," I said, pulling her close. "And I chose you too. We are going to tell the judge that. And I will do everything I can to make sure we stay together." "Will I have to talk to the judge?" she asked, fear evident in her voice. "Maybe," I answered honestly. "But if you do, I will be right there with you, and you just have to tell the truth about how you feel." "I am scared," she whispered. "Me too," I admitted. "But being scared is okay sometimes. We will be scared together, and we will get through this together, just like we have gotten through everything else." As the court date approached, I tried to maintain as much normalcy as possible for Lily's sake. We kept our Friday movie nights and Sunday park visits. I helped with homework, attended her art show at school, and pretended everything was fine while my insides twisted with anxiety about our future. The timing of Amanda's return after exactly 10 years seemed suspicious, a detail that nagged at me. I mentioned it to the private investigator during one of our updates. "That does seem convenient," he agreed. "Let me look into whether anything changes legally at the 10-year mark." 2 days later, he called with urgency in his voice. "We need to meet. I have found something significant." He arrived at my apartment with a folder of documents, waiting until Lily was engrossed in a television show before spreading them on my kitchen table. "Your sister's husband has been systematically searching for your niece's biological father," he explained, pointing to social media searches and database inquiries. "Based on the timing and nature of the searches, it appears they located him approximately 6 months ago, just before they contacted you. Why would they be looking for Lily's father? Amanda never even told me who he was." "Because of this," he said, pointing to another document. "The man they identified, Jason Reynolds, inherited a significant sum from his grandfather last year. We are talking multiple millions. If Amanda regains custody of Lily and establishes paternity, she could potentially claim substantial child support retroactively, plus secure future financial benefits for Lily that they would control as her guardians. The pieces fell into place with sickening clarity. Amanda's sudden interest in motherhood after 10 years of absence. The perfectly timed reappearance. The convenient redemption story. The expensive lawyer. It was not about wanting Lily back at all. It was about money. "Can you document all of this?" I asked, my voice steady, despite the rage building inside me. "Already done," he replied, tapping the folder. Along with evidence contradicting several claims in their court filings, Thomas's business is actually struggling, not thriving as they claimed. Their perfect house is mortgaged to the hilt. And most importantly, I have documented evidence of your parents' knowledge of Amanda's whereabouts for years, directly contradicting their sworn statements. I compiled all the evidence into a sealed folder that would become the centerpiece of our case. When Julia reviewed it, her professional demeanor cracked slightly. "This changes everything," she said. "The judge needs to see this." The county courthouse was an imposing building of stone and glass, its formal atmosphere immediately intimidating. I wore my most professional outfit, a navy blue suit I had purchased specifically for this day, wanting to project stability and competence. Lily was staying with her art teacher, a kind woman who had volunteered to keep her occupied during the proceedings. To spare her the tension of the courtroom, Amanda and Thomas sat at the table across the aisle, both immaculately dressed. Amanda in a conservative floral dress that suggested maternal warmth, Thomas in a tailored suit that spoke of financial success. My parents sat directly behind them. My mother clutching her purse nervously, my father staring straight ahead with his jaw set in the expression I had known since childhood, meant his mind was made up. Judge Harriman, a woman in her 60s with silver hair and reading glasses perched on her nose, called the court to order. She explained that this was a hearing to determine custody of Lily Morgan, now 10 years old, and outlined the factors she would consider in making her decision. "The court's primary concern is the best interest of the child," she stated firmly. "We will hear testimony from all parties involved and review the evidence presented. I expect complete honesty and respect for these proceedings." Amanda testified first, telling a compelling story of youthful mistakes, hard-won sobriety, and maternal longing. She described her marriage to Thomas as loving and stable, their home as spacious and child-friendly, their finances as more than adequate to provide Lily with advantages I could never offer. She wept at appropriate moments, describing her regret at missing years of Lily's life and her desire to make up for lost time. "I made a terrible mistake when I was young and addicted," she said, dabbing at her eyes with the tissue. "But I have worked so hard to become someone worthy of being Lily's mother. I want to give her the life she deserves with a mother and father who can provide everything she needs." Thomas followed with equally polished testimony, describing their 4-bedroom house with a backyard perfect for a child, the excellent school district they had specifically chosen with Lily in mind, and his financial ability to ensure she would never want for anything. He spoke of college funds, already established family vacations planned, and his desire to be the father figure Lily had lacked. "We can offer Lily stability, a traditional family environment, and opportunities that simply are not possible in her current situation," he said confidently. "While we respect what Natalie has done, we believe Lily belongs with her mother and in our home." My parents testified next, both reinforcing the narrative Amanda had constructed. My mother spoke of her joy at Amanda's recovery, and her belief that Lily would benefit from a relationship with her real mother. She claimed I had been resistant to family gatherings and had deliberately kept Lily separate from them, preventing the bond that should have developed between grandparents and grandchild. "Natalie has always been stubborn," she said with a sigh that suggested long-suffering patience. "Once she decided Lily was hers, she shut out the rest of the family. We tried to be involved, but she made it so difficult." My father's testimony was briefer, but equally damaging. He described Amanda as reformed and deserving of a second chance, while characterizing me as controlling and unwilling to acknowledge Lily's need for her biological mother. "Blood is blood," he stated, echoing the sentiment from our family dinner. "A child belongs with her real mother when that is possible. Natalie has done her duty, but it is time for Lily to be with Amanda." Their testimonies felt like physical blows, each false statement and twisted truth another wound from the people who should have supported me. I clutched my hands in my lap to stop them from shaking, focusing on maintaining my composure for Lily's sake. Amanda's attorney, an expensive-looking man in a designer suit, then questioned me aggressively about my finances, my work, schedule, and my personal life, attempting to portray me as barely managing and unable to provide the advantages Amanda and Thomas could offer. "Is it not true that you work 2 jobs to make ends meet?" he asked, I work as a school nurse full-time and do telehealth consultations some evenings after Lily is asleep to build her college fund, I corrected. And you live in a 2-bedroom apartment rather than a house? Yes, in a neighborhood Lily knows well, close to her school and friends. Have you maintained any serious relationships since becoming Lily's guardian? My primary focus has been providing stability for Lily rather than dating, I replied. The questioning continued in this vein, designed to make my loving, stable home seem inadequate compared to the materially advantaged one Amanda was offering. I answered truthfully, but felt the implied judgment in each question. The suggestion that love and consistency were somehow less important than square footage and vacation plans. When my turn to present evidence came, the energy in the courtroom shifted. Lily's current and former teachers testified about her academic progress, social development, and the strong, secure attachment she clearly had to me. They described a happy, well-adjusted child who spoke of my mom, Nana, with love and trust. In my 20 years of teaching, I have rarely seen a parent as involved and attentive as Natalie, her current teacher, stated firmly. Lily is thriving under her care. She is confident, kind to other children, and academically motivated. These are all signs of a child who feels secure and loved. The school counselor who had been working with Lily since the custody issue arose provided professional testimony about the potential psychological impact of removing Lily from the only stable home she had ever known. Lily identifies Natalie as her mother, in every meaningful sense of the word, she explained. Forcing a change in her primary caregiver at this stage of development could result in significant attachment issues, anxiety, depression, and academic regression. The bond between them is profound and should not be disrupted without compelling reason. Finally, it was my turn to testify. I spoke from the heart about the 10 years of mothering Lily, from those first terrifying days of learning to care for an infant, to watching her grow into the amazing 10-year-old she now was. I described our daily routines, our traditions, our support network of friends and chosen family. I explained how I had always kept the door open for Amanda to be part of Lily's life-saving mementos, and speaking of her birth mother, in positive terms despite her absence. I have loved Lily as my own. From the moment she came into my life, I concluded, my voice steady despite the emotion behind my words. Not because she is my biological child, but because she is my child in every way that matters. I have been there for every fever, every nightmare, every school project, every skin knee, and every triumph. I am not perfect, and I cannot offer her the material advantages that Amanda and Thomas claim they can, but I can offer her the security of knowing she is loved unconditionally by the parent who chose to be there every single day of her life. Then came the moment we had prepared for. Julia presented the sealed folder of evidence to the judge, requesting it be entered into the record. As Judge Harriman reviewed the contents, her expression changed. From professional neutrality to visible concern. She looked up sharply, first at Amanda and Thomas, then at my parents. Counsel approached the bench, she said. After a brief, intense discussion with the attorneys, she turned to Amanda. Miss Morgan, are you aware of the contents of this folder? Amanda shook her head, looking confused. No, Your Honor. It contains evidence directly contradicting several key claims in your petition, the judge continued, including documentation that your husband has been actively searching for Lily's biological father, who recently came into a substantial inheritance. A murmur ran through the courtroom. Amanda's face paled as she turned to look at Thomas, whose expression had hardened. Furthermore, the judge continued, there is evidence that Mr. and Mrs. Parker, she nodded toward. My parents have been in regular contact with you for approximately 3 years, directly contradicting their sworn testimony that they were unaware of your whereabouts until recently. My father shifted uncomfortably in his seat. My mother stared at her hands. Finally, there are social media posts and private messages suggesting financial motives for this custody petition, rather than the concern for Lily's well-being that has been presented to this court. The judge turned her gaze directly to my parents. Mr. and Mrs. Parker, did you knowingly provide false testimony to this court regarding your knowledge of your daughter Amanda's whereabouts? My father cleared his throat. We were trying to protect her privacy during her recovery, Your Honor. That is not what I asked, Judge Harriman said sharply. Did you knowingly make false statements under oath? We may have misremembered some details, my mother offered weakly. Perjury is a serious offense, the judge reminded them before turning to Amanda. Miss Morgan, were you aware that your husband was searching for Lily's biological father for potential financial gain? Amanda's composure cracked. Thomas handled the legal aspects. He said it would strengthen our case to have the biological father's information. And did he mention the inheritance? The judge pressed. Not specifically, Amanda said. but her avoiding gaze suggested otherwise. Thomas leaned forward. Your Honor, if I may explain. Mr. Richards, I suggest you confer with your attorney before speaking further, Judge Harriman advised. The evidence suggests potential legal issues beyond the scope of this custody hearing. The courtroom atmosphere had transformed completely. What had begun as Amanda's carefully orchestrated performance had unraveled into exposed lies and questionable motives. Judge Harriman called a brief recess to review the evidence more thoroughly, leaving both parties to sit in tense silence. When court resumed, the judge's expression was grave. Having reviewed the evidence and testimony presented today, I find several disturbing elements in the petitioner's case. What appears on the surface to be a mother seeking to reunite with her child seems upon closer examination to be motivated at least in part by financial considerations related to the biological father's recent inheritance. She continued, addressing Amanda directly. Miss Morgan, while I believe you may have genuine feelings for your daughter, the timing and circumstances of your petition raise significant concerns about your motivations and judgment. The evidence suggests you have misrepresented several key facts to this court. Turning to me, her expression softened slightly. Miss Parker, the evidence clearly shows you have provided a loving, stable home for Lily throughout her life. The testimony of educational professionals and the documentation of your consistent care are compelling evidence of your commitment to her well-being. With a final look at her notes, Judge Harriman delivered her ruling. It is the finding of this court that the best interests of the minor child, Lily Morgan, are served by maintaining her current living situation with her aunt and legal guardian, Natalie Parker. The petition for change of custody is denied. The relief that flooded through me was so intense, I nearly collapsed in my chair. Julia squeezed my hand in silent congratulation as the judge continued. Miss Morgan will be granted limited supervised visitation to be arranged through family services, with the potential for expanded visitation in the future if deemed appropriate. Mr. and Mrs. Parker, she added, looking sternly at my parents, the court takes note of your apparent willingness to provide misleading testimony in this case. You are admonished that such behavior undermines the legal process designed to protect children like your granddaughter. As the formal proceedings concluded, I sat quietly processing the outcome. We had won. Lily would stay with me where she belonged. The nightmare was over. Amanda approached me as I gathered my things, her eyes red from crying. I never wanted to hurt her, she said softly. Or you. It just got complicated. It did not have to be, I replied to, emotionally drained for anger. You could have just been honest from the beginning about wanting to know her. She nodded, looking down. I know, Thomas thought. It does not matter what he thought. I should have known better. I simply nodded, unwilling to absolve her in that moment, and walked out of the courtroom toward the sunlight and the freedom to continue being Lily's mother without the shadow of uncertainty hanging over us. The moment I picked up Lily from her art teacher's house was one I will never forget. She ran to me, scanning my face anxiously for clues about the outcome. What did the judge say? Do I still get to live with you? I knelt down to her level, taking both her hands in mine. Yes, sweetheart. The judge said. You stay with me. We are still a family, just like always. Her entire body sagged with relief as she threw her arms around my neck. You promised. You cross your heart promised, and you kept it. I will always keep my promises to you, I said, holding her tightly and breathing in the scent of her hair, allowing myself to fully feel the weight that had been lifted from my shoulders. Always. That evening, we celebrated with pizza and ice cream, a simple feast. That felt like the most luxurious meal imaginable under the circumstances. As Lily chatted excitedly about an art project she had worked on during the day, I marveled at her resilience and her capacity for joy despite the uncertainty she had been living with. The aftermath of the court case required careful navigation of new boundaries with my family. I arranged to meet my parents at a neutral location without Lily present, needing to address their betrayal directly. How could you lie in court, I asked them, not bothering with pleasantries? How could you support taking Lily away from the only home she has ever known? We thought we were doing the right thing, my father said defensively. Amanda is her mother. And I am her mother too, I said firmly. In every way that counts. You chose Amanda over both of us, and you lied to do it. I cannot trust you around Lily now. That is ridiculous, my mother protested. We are her grandparents. Grandparents who were willing to traumatize her to get what you wanted, I countered. If you want to be part of Lily's life going forward, there will be new rules. Supervised visits only. No undermining my parenting. No private conversations with Amanda about Lily. And absolutely no more lies. They balked at the restrictions, but I remained firm. The judge's ruling had given me the confidence to set the boundaries that should have been in place years ago. My parents eventually agreed though, with poor grace to the new arrangement. Lily continued her sessions with the therapist, processing her complicated feelings about the court case, her birth mother, and the grandparents who had betrayed her trust. Through play therapy and art therapy, she began to express the anxiety and confusion that had been building for months. "Sometimes I feel like I have two moms, but also no mom," she confided during one session. "I was invited to join. Amanda is my birth mom, but she did not want me. You want me, but Amanda says you are not my real mom. It is confusing. Family can be complicated," the therapist acknowledged, "but what matters most is who loves you and takes care of you every day." "That is," Nana Lily said without hesitation. "She is my real mom because she chose me and stayed with me." Those words became a healing mantra for both of us. We began creating new traditions with the people who had stood by us through the ordeal, our chosen family of friends, neighbors, and colleagues who had testified to our bond and supported us through the legal battle. The supervised visitation with Amanda began cautiously. Thomas stopped attending after the first few sessions, his interest in Lily apparently diminishing once the financial motivation was removed. Amanda, however, continued to show up, gradually establishing a relationship with Lily that was more appropriate to their actual connection. She became something of an aunt figure, interested and caring, but not attempting to replace me as Lily's primary parent. With the custody issue resolved, I was able to focus on professional advancement again. I applied for and received a promotion to Health Services Coordinator for the school district, a position that came with better pay and continued family-friendly hours. The additional income allowed us to move to a slightly larger apartment with a small yard where Lily could plant the garden she had always wanted. Several months after the court case, Amanda asked to meet with me privately. Over coffee at the same cafe where we had reconnected a year earlier, she finally offered the apology I had not realized I was waiting for. "I was wrong," she said simply. "Not just about the custody case, but about everything. You are a better mother to Lily than I could ever have been. Even if I had been healthy from the beginning, you have something special, something real. I thought biology trumped everything, but watching you together these past months has shown me what true parenting looks like." "Thank you for saying that," I replied, surprised at how much her acknowledgement meant to me. "I want you to know I have ended things with Thomas," she continued. "After everything came out in court about his motives, I could not trust him anymore. I am focusing on my sobriety and my career, and on building a healthy relationship with Lily as her birth mother, not trying to replace you." This shift in Amanda's perspective allowed us to gradually establish a more cooperative relationship for Lily's benefit. We would never be the close sisters we had been in childhood, but we found a workable peace as two women who cared about the same child in different ways. Lily continued to thrive as she grew her natural resilience, helping her integrate the complicated reality of her family situation into a coherent narrative. She developed an interest in psychology, perhaps influenced by her own therapy experience, and began talking about maybe becoming a counselor someday to help other kids with confusing families. On the evening of Lily's 11th birthday, after a small party with her closest friends, she presented me with a homemade card that brought tears to my eyes. Inside she had written, "To my mom, who chose me every day for 11 years. Biology makes relatives, but love makes families. Thank you for being my real mom." Looking back on our journey from that rainy night, when a 3-month-old baby appeared on my doorstep to the confident 11-year-old standing before me, I realized that the unexpected detour my life had taken had led me to exactly where I was meant to be. I had not planned to become a mother at 24, certainly not to my sister's abandoned child, but that unplanned beginning had given me the greatest gift of my life. The definition of family I had grown up with, the one my parents still clung to based on blood and obligation, had been replaced by a richer understanding. Family was not just who you were born to, but who you chose to love, and who chose to love you back day after day through challenges and joys alike. As Lily and I sat on our small balcony that evening, watching the sunset, and talking about her dreams for the coming year, I felt a sense of peace that had been missing during the turmoil of the custody battle. We had weathered the storm together and emerged stronger, our bond tested and proven unbreakable. Nana Lily said thoughtfully, "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if Mom had not left me with you that night?" "Sometimes," I admitted, "but then I think about all we would have missed, and I am grateful things happened exactly as they did." She nodded, leaning her head against my shoulder. "Me too. What has your experience been with family that extends beyond blood relationships? Have you ever had someone in your life who became family through love and choice rather than biology?" Thank you for listening. Take care. Good luck.